Videos like this are really hard to make. For one reason and one reason alone. Public opinion. Now, I'm not putting myself out there and talking about my emotions for the opinion of other people. I'm doing this for myself as kind of a way to gauge my emotional maturity over the years and a way to really reflect on who I am as a person. For the past 6 years, I've made a journal entry every year on my YouTube channel talking about what went on that year, how I dealt with it, and how I'm going to move forward. What is my plan for the next year? And I do this at the end of every year, kind of like a New Year's resolution. And I'll do the same this year. But this time, I want to make it public. This year, I've worked a lot on emotional maturity and just how to deal with trauma and who I am as like a human being. And I've dealt with that for the past year, trying to figure it out. And I think I have. I think I've finally figured it out. But to understand what I've gone through, I want to bring you back 5 years. 5 years ago on St. Patrick's Day, my brother died of an overdose, a coke-induced heart attack. And that was really hard for me to deal with. That year on Christmas, it felt as though I'd lost something. My first real loss. Every year, to preface this, my parents are divorced. And I would either spend Christmas Eve with my mom or Christmas with my mom, depending on the year. And that year, I was spending Christmas with my mom. And I remember every year before that, my brother was usually in jail pretty much every year for Christmas since I was like 7, 8-ish. And every year on Christmas, without fail, or Christmas Eve, depending on which day I would spend with my mom, I would get a call, or my mom would get a call on the house phone, or on her cell phone, from my brother. And he planned this weeks in advance to make sure that he would call on the days that me and my brother were here. And he would call, and he would say, "Merry Christmas." And I remember going to my room that Christmas night and just thinking, I never got a call. Wasn't I supposed to get a call today? And I couldn't understand. Why did I think I was supposed to get a call today? Why did I think I was going to get a call today? And then it fucking hit. And it hit like a fucking ton of bricks. He would always call me. And that really fucking sucked. That I was waiting for this call from someone who wasn't there anymore. On the Christmases that I spent with my dad, we would go over to my grandparents' house. And my grandfather and my grandmother would make this amazing dinner. One of the best dinners you've ever seen. Usually they would buy our Christmas presents beforehand, so that wasn't a big deal. They would go to either the Best Buy near our house or like a clothing store or something, and they would buy us something. And it really meant a lot to us. And that wasn't the biggest part of it. The biggest part of it was Christmas dinner with my grandparents. And we would either do it on Christmas Eve or Christmas. 3 years ago, my grandfather passed. And that was really fucking hard. Because just like my brother, my grandfather was someone who I looked up to and idolized. Someone who really meant a lot to me. A strong man who did everything in his power to be a good person. And as I grew older, I started to idolize that more and more. And even when his opinions overlapped being a good person, he would keep his opinions to himself to make sure that everyone felt included. And 3 years ago, he passed. And that really sucked because it was someone who I looked up to and idolized. Someone just like my brother who shaped the person I am today. And it's hard every Christmas to go without that meal with my dad and my brother and my two grandparents. It's really hard to picture that in my mind that that'll never happen again. And I think that's kind of what makes it hard, is that I'm never going to get that again. I'm never going to get my grandfather's snarky comments from across the table, making a joke about me or my brother, and then me and my dad arguing about something that has nothing to do with anything, and my grandfather stepping in and saying, well, Sammy's right. He always agreed with me. That was the big thing. He always took my side over my dad's, because I think between me and you, he liked to see my dad get even more mad. I think he liked to see my dad get a little furious when he would take my side. And that was just the relationship that they had. Always pissing each other off in one way or another, but still at the end of the day always being there for each other. When my dad was dead fucking broke, literally nothing to his name, we were about to get evicted out of my apartment, the first person he called was my grandfather. And just to be there, you know? It sucks that he's not there anymore. Last year, I lost the last person I would say I look up to. A person so kind and genuine and just wholeheartedly one of the best people I've ever met. And I've yet to fully understand it, I guess is the way I'd put it. It's hard to digest a death during a pandemic. You know, it's hard because for every other death I've had in my family, right? When my grandfather died, I would go see my grandmother and I would talk to her and we'd tell stories and it would be so genuine and nice. And, you know, I got it and I got over it. When my brother died, I was living with my mom and I would talk to her all the time and we'd have these stupid fucking arguments because I just needed someone to argue with, you know? I just needed to argue with someone about this horrible death that happened. I would argue with my mom and we would have these stupid inflammatory arguments that made no sense to anyone else. No sense. But we would have them. And I guess why it doesn't make sense is because I haven't been able to get that closure yet. Because this pandemic's going on, I haven't been able to talk to my cousin who was married to the woman who I looked up to. I haven't been able to talk to her about it, and it's really hard for me to digest that death because of that. And I think I've spent a lot of the past year searching in myself to find the strength to keep moving. Whether that's with content creation, or whether that's with college or working or whatever I'm doing, it's hard to find the strength to keep moving. Before every single stream that I do, I will go up to this this board up here. You see this? This board. In the corner of this board is this picture of me and my brother when I was super young. In the corner is me and his best friend at the time, Gabby. And I keep this up there. And I just go up to it every time before I stream. Because he loved when I talked about creating content online. I would tell him all the time about the new YouTube videos I was uploading and the new content that I wanted to create. And, oh, you want to hear about this new editing trick I learned? That's super cool. And he would always be so supportive, even though most of the time I'm sure he didn't understand it. I'm sure he didn't understand when I started talking about After Effects and how Adobe Premiere is better than Sony Vegas and how you can just use hotkeys instead of clicking on the tools themselves and color correction and all that. I'm sure he didn't understand. But he was excited. And I think that's what true love really is. Is someone who's there for you even when they don't know why. And I've had a lot of people come into my life who have been there for me when they want to be. And that's hard for me to handle. Having people just walk out. But in the past year, I've dealt with being alone. I've dealt with my emotional maturity and just who I want to be when I'm by myself. Because I feel like I've given my life to other people. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I think in the past year, I finally discovered who I want to be. I want to be a mix of the three people that I idolized. I want the love and compassion and just the funny, artistic person that my brother used to be. I want the strong, capable, compassionate parts of my grandfather that kept people around, that formed strong bonds and made people love him. And I want the intelligent, compassionate, forward-looking, idealistic self-confidence of Ellie. And I want to mix these three people into one. And that's who I want to be. And it's hard. Because to be the person you want to be, you have to kill the person you once were. I actually have a tweet about this that I pulled up last night, and I thought it was really funny at the time because I didn't know why I tweeted it. And I realized that I said it because I was in a manic episode. I said it because I wanted future me to read the words and understand. And the tweet says this: live out of spite from the person you used to be. Live out of regret of your failures as a human. Live for the people who gave you everything. Live for that. And even though I was in this manic, fucked up headspace where I thought that the entire world was crumbling around me, these thoughts, I decided that I wanted myself or someone to read this. And I think it's because that's what I truly feel. I truly want to live to be the person that I want to be, and not the person who I used to be. And it takes a lot of power and just mental strength to kill off who you used to be. And I think in the past year, I've searched for who I wanted to be, and I found it. And in the next year, I'm going to dedicate myself to being the person who I want to be. Anyways, I appreciate you watching this video. Yeah. Thanks.